Live with the community. This is the Microsoft Power Platform Community Call for February 2023. Today is February 15th. We are so excited that you are all joining us today for this fantastic monthly call. Let's take a look at our agenda. All right. Latest updates and news on Power Platform at the news desk with Daniel Laskewitz. I can't wait for that one, everybody. We're going to have some group picture time with Together Mode. We're going to have community call conversations, and we've got three amazing presenters for today. Carlos is going to talk about developing a personal wellness app to prevent burnout using Power Apps and SharePoint. So excited. Vivian is going to cover the Power Platform Release Planner. It's your new superpower, everybody. Bling, you've got power. Yannick is going to talk about how to use when an action is performed trigger in Power Automate. So we've got a plethora of goodness for everybody to learn and enjoy and discuss today. Now, you may be wondering, I want to discuss and show some cool stuff. We absolutely want you to. This is your community call. We want you to be part of it. So everyone should know they are welcome. Everyone is welcome to demo in this call. In fact, we've made it easy on you. All you need to do is fill out a simple little form. Tell us what you want to talk about. aka.ms/community/request/demo//. Everybody's got a slash. So remember that one. Rolls off the tongue. Definitely go fill it out. The link is in the chat. We want you to be part of this community in multiple ways. So definitely don't hesitate to get involved. Now, let's start with the Power Platform News Desk. I'm going to send it over for the monthly update with Daniel Laskewitz.
I even got a fancy intro. That's cool. Yeah, we have a new part here in the community call, and that's the news and Microsoft Learn updates. The first news item is the release wave plans, of course. Every half year there is a new plan with all the new release notes. And those are available for Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. A lot of you probably know that already, but if you haven't seen them yet, please go there. Another really interesting news article is making Dataverse available for all makers. And that's all about the Dataverse environments that you can get with your development environments. And now it's possible to have more than one environment. You have 3 different environments now that you can use as a developer. Also, the Power Pages data workspace is now solution aware. So whenever you create something with data from Power Pages, it will end up in the solution. This is also really cool. There's Rep for Power Apps Wizard, and that's a way to create your native apps and deploy them through Intune, for instance. And on the Microsoft Learn side, we have new documentation on pipelines in Power Platform, which is currently in public preview. There's docs around building large and complex apps. And you can also see the new updates for the sample app templates in Microsoft Teams. And those are completely different now, so make sure to look at that as well. And of course, we have the Power Platform developers landing page, which is improved now as well. There are 3 new samples, 3 Power App samples. There's an app login from Seth Addo, and he created a pretty cool app to show off that scenario. There's a Search Movies app, and that's based on the OMDB connector that's available in the Independent Publisher Program, and that's been done by Ariane Aurora. And last but not least, there's a Student Application Process app, and that shows you a multi-step form in Canvas apps, and that's been made by Samia Sohail Azim. If you want to contribute to the Power Platform samples, make sure to go to aka.ms/Power Platform samples. And if you don't know where to start, there is a sharing is caring session. And with that, I want to hand it over to Hugo.
Well, thank you, Daniel. I mean, I'm disappointed that I don't get fancy music, but I'll make my own music. Thank you. So we have guidance, right? And the Sharing is Caring is an initiative where we looked at what are the things that are stopping people from being able to contribute and be part of the community. Maybe it's because you're afraid of GitHub, or you're afraid of public speaking. You're trying to be better at writing for the web, or many of the other things. And this is what we do. They're hands-on sessions that are not recorded. They're usually small groups of people. And again, everyone has the opportunity to ask questions. It's a safe space. We want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable because we've all been at some point afraid of submitting a GitHub pull request and destroying the entire repo. Our next session is going to be the Power Platform sample contributor, where we're going to show you if you want to do a sample like Daniel just showed the samples, we're going to walk you through the process and we're going to help you create, for many people, it's going to be your first real pull request in GitHub. And don't worry, pull requests won't be that scary after the session. So our session is on February the 23rd. And once you've submitted your sample or you've contributed to any of our open source initiatives, you get some cool stuff. And with that, let's talk about, on the next slide, the cool stuff. We have a community recognition program. The community recognition, if I could say that word, the recognition program is something that is powered by Credly. Credly is the same folks that give you those badges when you get certified on a Microsoft certification. We actually give you badges for doing your contributions, for creating samples, for contributing to documentation, to writing blogs, and so on and so forth. There's no cost to you. All you need to do is to actually go to aka.ms/community/recognition, where you get to opt in and you tell us basically what your GitHub handle is, what your email address is, and we'll take care of everything from there. We want to make sure that you're recognized and that you're able to show your contributions proudly. This is something that goes on your LinkedIn profile. This is something you can put on your resume to show people that not only you know your stuff, but you're actually contributing to the community. And with that, let's pass it to April to talk about upcoming events.
Thank you, Hugo. Again, no music here, but I'll make my own Power Platform community shows and events. Okay, so Local Revolution, we have a few different episodes here. Daniel is continuing his Power Platform CLI Exposed series, so we have some great episodes there. An overview going on solutions, Power Pages, and the data and tooling with Marcel is the latest one that we have there, and he will be continuing that series. So be on the lookout for more episodes there. And if you want to be a guest, fill out that link there. We can get you on if you have something cool to show. And if you want to check out the show, we got a link there too, aka.ms/low-code revolution show. Now, today is a great day, not only because we have the community call today, but if we move on, we also, immediately after the call, actually, the Powerful Devs Conference is happening today. So if you want to continue on the Power Platform train for the day, stick around. It's about a 3-hour event. We're going to have some great sessions. Donna Sarkar, Greg Herman are hosting. Charles Lamanna will be kicking it off with a keynote. And we'll have some great sessions by MVPs, community members, and Microsoft program managers and cloud advocates and all of that. So I hope you can join us for that event. Just go to aka.ms/Powerful Devs Conference 2023 and check it out immediately after this call today. And if you can't make it, it will be available on demand later. Now, Powerful Devs Conference is part of Low Code February. So right now we're in the middle of Low Code February. So if you go to aka.ms/low-code-February, that'll take you to our page. We have all kinds of great content. We're doing daily blog posts, walking through some of the Power Platform integration scenarios there. We have workshops, Ask the Experts. We have different videos and stuff that you can watch, and so much great content that we're pushing out as part of this Low Code February event. And I hear we might even potentially have some badges if you share some samples and all that as part of Low Code February. So be on the lookout for that as well. But definitely check that out and get going. We have a Cloud Skills Challenge as well that you can complete and kind of test out your skills there. So hope you can check that out and get involved in there. And I'm going to turn it back over to David to talk some more about more events here.
Awesome. Thank you, April. And I'll get music for everybody. Don't worry. We've got some more stuff coming up for everybody. So don't worry. We got music for everybody. All right. Let's talk about some more events. We've got the Power Platform Bootcamp all around the world. This is a global Power Platform Bootcamp, and it is on February 24th and 25th, 2022. A lot of you are involved all across the world, so thank you. Definitely 78 locations, in fact, all across the world, so we are so excited for that. Check it out if you're not aware of it. The link is in the chat, or you can go to powerplatformbootcamp.com. Now, we also have the European Power Platform Conference coming up in June in Dublin, Ireland. So we are definitely excited for that. You can get your super early bird tickets now. Squawk, squawk. I don't have a bird sound effect. I should have had one. Dang it. All right. Well, next month, right? So Dublin 2022 20th to the 22nd of June, 2023. There's a lot of 20s in there. Definitely check it out. Now, we also have the EduCon series coming up. Now, this is a great series across the country in the United States, DC, Seattle, Chicago. So we're excited to have this as part of our exposure as well. Wonderful events are available for all of us all around the world. Definitely want to highlight our amazing community and all that you're doing in these community programs. And with that, we also have community days. So don't hesitate to go to community days. If you're running an event, you can see how many are coming up in February and March. So many. And thank you all for running these shows. They are fantastic. You can be listed on this slide here for future events. Just go to aka.ms/community days. You're able to provide your event on that slide and absolutely be exposed to everyone in the community and get some exposure and amplification and all that. So please don't hesitate. We want to highlight you all for the amazing work that you're doing in the community, and we know it's a lot of hard work. So we definitely want you to be involved and get some amplification, and we're here to support you in that. So thank you for all that you are doing. All right, now let's turn it over to Jocelyn to talk a little bit about Power Platform connectors.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're tuning in from. I just wanted to provide some updates on the Power Platform connector ecosystem, because what is Power Platform without connectors? Since we last spoke about a month ago, we have grown by over 20 additional connectors, which is awesome. That's almost one a day. And our internal goal is to hit 900 by the end of December, which we surpassed, and 1,000 by the end of June. So we are well underway, only a month and a half into the year and almost halfway to our goal. Some updates that we have include a Mongo database connector, as well as WhatsApp and IBM Watson, both made by independent publishers. Independent publishers, as a reminder, are community contributors like yourselves who are leveraging open source APIs. As a whole now, spanning across Power Automate, Power Apps, and Azure Logic Apps, we have 233 first-party connectors, Microsoft made and owned, as well as 239 from independent publishers, which is surpassed first-party. That's really awesome to see all of the involvement, and 476 made by verified publishers. Those are third-party enterprise API owners. I also want to announce that while we've had an OpenAI connector made by an independent publisher for a few months, we actually have just received a new update on it. It now supports DALL-E 2, which is super amazing. We can see here a little prompt where it's asking for a picture of 2 elephants and a giraffe having a party in watercolor. So that's really awesome. It has so many Power Apps and Power Automate integrations, and we're really happy to see the use of OpenAI and ChatGPT in our ecosystem. If you have any questions or are interested in getting involved in our ecosystem, please use the links in the slide or reach out to me. I'm sure David will put my links in the chat. And thank you all so much. And I will also be live in Times Square at the Global Power Platform Bootcamp, so please come see me if you're in the tri-state area. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Joss. All right. Well, what time is it? What time is it? Time for a little picture time, right? So everybody crack those cameras open and to get us ready while I move over to together mode and get Camtasia ready to go here. How about a little yeah, let's get going, right? Woo, pepped up. All right. Let's move this out of the way. Let's move this into the way. Looking awesome. Let everything kind of fill in here and not be so pixelized. My goodness. Come on, internet teams. It looks like we're all in witness protection right now. Let's give this a minute. All right. It is slowly coming into play. This is the only way that people say, David, you look great today. All right. I'm going to start recording, and I'm going to hope that Teams is recording a better version of it. Let's give everybody a wave and show how awesome you are. Because I'm on fiber too, and this is like a gig up and a gig down, so that's kind of funny. It must just be some latency, but you all look fantastic, no matter what the internet is saying to our video. All right, okay, cool. Now let's move this back over and let's get to our fantastic all-stars of the day. We're going to start with Carlos, developing a personal wellness app to prevent burnout using Power Apps and SharePoint. This is so important, Carlos. I cannot wait for this. Take it on over, my man.
Well, thank you, David. And I really just totally thrilled to be here and also shaking my boots. I'm the Associate VP for Technology Innovation at Texas State University. And My pronouns are he, him, or él for those of you that speak Spanish. Let's quickly get into it. So yes, like David said, the main issue that I was trying to work with here is burnout, which is a common problem in a variety of jobs, and developing a couple of alternatives, simple Power Apps that would help users with this problem. So the whole solution that was proposed was to help people identify and highlight positive moments that we mostly experience in our lives so that we can learn the value and the benefits of dedicating time for reflection. So let's take a look at a couple of the solutions that we came up with. One of them was to let users think that actions can actually lead to positive developments in our lives. And the other one is how can refocusing after reflecting really change our mindset about what our lives are about, what our lives are like, and what we can do with our own powers. So we all know that better together is the name of the game. So this actually relies primarily on SharePoint lists and Power Apps. There's a Power Automate that can go with it. Instead of showing the apps, I'm actually going to show screenshots in some of the ways in which I wire the components, because it's not that scary. I am one of those early developers that have been teaching myself thanks to the community. So I've always been a little bit on the slow side of things, but this is really easy. So here's a look at the first app. Basically, that app shows a wellness prompt at the beginning, and then it shows a series of cards that allow the user to see where they were on any given day with their energy points and what actions they took. The whole idea behind this app is to either look at your feelings to look at your energy or feelings on a scale from 1 to 5. And if you're feeling your energy being between 3 and 1, it means you're probably not in the best place. And so there is a prompt for you to take some action, and underneath is a box to enter a reflection of this action you might take to feel better. On the other hand, if you feel energetic and feel like you're in a good point, it's a good time to reflect on the kinds of things that you did to take you to that space. And we provide some actions on the list that lets you recap what you might have done to get you there. This other app actually looks at what happens before and after you reflect, how you're feeling. Similarly, here we have a gallery that shows you for any given day where you were prior to reflection and where you were post-reflection, and it gives you a little built-in chart that highlights the movement for every day that you engage with the app. So it starts, we didn't want people to get to see the whole screen. It starts just with you evaluating your energy. And once you do your energy evaluation, you get a daily prompt for reflection. And we make it relatively short, no bigger than a tweet, so 248 characters. And once you start typing, like my favorite reflection is a zombie ipsum lorem ipsum to go with, and you reach a certain number of characters, you get prompted to reevaluate your energy and then submit your reflection. So what are these SharePoint lists that are part of the system? I created 3 SharePoint lists. The first one is the wellness tips, which is a read-only list that I make available to all of our users. The second one is a reflections prompt that is also a read-only list that is available to all users. And then thirdly, there is your personal reflection lists that varies by project, but sometimes can include images right into the list. And so the fact that SharePoint has been made capable of us reading and writing images through Power Apps has been an awesome development. These are some of the functions that I throw and properties that I threw into the mix. The visible property, also the variable property. So usually visibility is set to false until something happens. The len function, which counts the characters inside some boxes. The first function, which pulls the first item of a table. The shuffle function that shuffles content of a table, if statements, items, and onChange. So this is the way the random wellness tip gets delivered to the users. There's a list of random wellness tips, and the label at the top of the screen is basically the result of shuffling that wellness list and then putting the first one of that shuffled deck at the top of that screen. Then how do we provide the random prompt for the reflection? We start out with everything else blank in the screen, and then I use the onChange property for the energy slider. And once that slider changes, then it will go and feed not only the daily prompt, but it will then make the reflection window or the reflection input box appear. And then finally, after you type a certain number of characters, then we make the energy after visible and then also the submit icon visible. Similarly, instead of letting the user create their own prompt, we provide the prompt essentially again with the first shuffle of the reflection prompts, and we make that only a view item that gets saved along with the data when the user submits his or her or their reflections. For the drop-down items, and the one that we either prompt you to do a reflection or reflect on the things you have done, if your energy levels are below 3, the drop-down items come from one list, but if your energy level is above 4, then your drop-down items get changed to another list that helps you recap the actions you might have taken that would lead you to that. And finally, there is this chart component that's a simple chart component, one of the components that comes with standard Power Apps, and we just point that to the date and then to your energy levels pre and post reflection in this particular case. This is an optional component that I have built to it that basically uses Power Automate to look at the list of entries in the morning, and if there hasn't been an entry that is any different, that is, if you hadn't made an entry in the last 3 days, then it will send you a gentle reminder, a friendly reminder, either via mobile or via your email, whatever the user chooses to do next. So this is a way you can get in touch with me. I'm happy and privileged to be able to share this with you, and I'm open to questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Carlos. We will have the questions go into the chat just for purposes of keeping the demos moving along. But this is really fantastic. I love what you've done here with the technology. It's really a perfect example of doing good with tech. We do live in a world that's been topsy-turvy the last couple of years, and here you're using the technology to provide awesome opportunity to have wellness spread about in our community, in our world. So thank you for bringing this to us today and demoing it. We will have a dedicated space for folks to communicate with you after the call. We'll talk about that at the end, but thank you so much. Really great stuff. Great job on the presentation as well. All right, y'all ready to get a new superpower? Superpower! Vivian is going to cover the Power Platform Release Planner, your new superpower. So Vivian, take it on over.
Yep. Hey, everyone, see my screen now?
Yep, see it.
Perfect. Then let's kick it off. Well, as you heard from David in the start, there is release wave notes are out for the first release wave of the year of 2023, and everyone who has ever looked into the release wave notes can tell that it's a nightmare. Let's be honest. It is a long text that you have to go through. It's a lot of things that you need to go through. And then you have to afterwards figure out if you have green marks to make sure that the things have come or are still waiting for the features to come. So recently, we have gotten a new superpower. There has come out a new tool called the Power Platform Release Planner, and I am here to tell you all about it today. But just to kick off, I am Vivian Voss. I am here. I'm a solution architect at Avanade in Denmark. I work as a Dynamics 365 and a Power Platform consultant as the first time, now a solution architect. I'm also a Microsoft Business Applications MVP. And I'm a Dynamics 365 and Power Platform community enthusiast. So you might see me as organizing, as volunteering, as also speaking at different events, trying to push the Dynamics view into different events, but also embracing the Power Platform and everything that goes around with it. In my free time, I love volunteering and I love handicrafts. So whenever I find those 5 minutes that I don't do volunteering, Power Platform, anything, then I also do handicrafts, mostly crocheting. On this side of the screen, you can see my social media. Mostly Twitter and LinkedIn are my thing. I blog sometimes, so there are posts, but they might be a bit randomly coming. But to get to the point of today, we have a new Power Platform release planner that has different functionality to it. The key features are that you have the possibility of searching. You have the possibility of adding your own release planner. So it is an interactive tool that that brings in all the release plans that there are for different release waves. So it's not just based on one, it's actually based on multiple. I will also demo it all to you after we've gone through the key features. And after that, it is the different functionalities that you can try and already try out yourself. We have the possibility of collaboration through notes. So if you see something cool that you want to talk to your team about, you have the possibility of using notes and sharing. So you write your first note and people after that will write the other notes. So you actually, within your team, you have the possibility of creating a thread of notes to look through a certain release notes and certain functionality, everything that works. And then you have filtering. You have the possibility of filtering out the different functionality by time, by release wave, by functionality. And in the end, you have also the use of API to retrieve release plans, which I think is one of the coolest options that there is out there right now. And then you have the possibility of sharing the release plans. The problem with looking at the different release wave plans within Microsoft documentation is the fact that it's not that easy to share online. So within the release planner, you have the possibility, and actually a very visual way of sharing the different functionality, the different tooling. So you have the possibility of making it work for you. But enough with the presentation. Let me show you what the fun is about. So this is the release planner from this link that you also have in the slide deck. I think hopefully someone can also paste in the chat. This is available for everyone. Just open. It is a web tool that you can all use and share. One thing that I have figured out with it is the fact that in order to use the My Release Plans part here, you have to be logged on. If you don't log on, then you can still use, or you can still go to the My Release Plans part, but it will give you an error basically. It will tell you to log on, and then you can start using the My Release Plans. So just one side note before you start working with it. Other than that, everything has been very intuitive in my opinion. As also mentioned, the release wave notes come out for the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. And those you can also see on the left side of the screen in the sitemap for the different products that you can see the release notes for. You have the Power Platform in the bottom here, and then you have Dynamics on the top. For each and every product, you can see what is planned, what is coming soon, and what you can already try now. I love the try now feature, honestly. Well, I love the whole tool. I've also been using it for a while now, but I love the fact that you can go to the try now part and see what it is that already has come without having to figure out and find the things working. So once you find a feature, you click on it. You can see whether or not it has been updated. You can see when the public preview is. And here you have the pretty share button. Click on it and it copies the link to your, it copies the link and you can paste it afterwards wherever you want to share it for. Within the feature, you have quick text. You have a picture if there is one. You get to know when the early access, public preview, and GA date is. And you can see in which release wave it was included in. Also, you have the possibility of getting directly to the functionality of the release wave notes directly from here without having to search for it anywhere else. The same with the Learn More button, it will take you to documentation. In order to create your own release plan, all you have to do is click on the plus to my plan, and then it automatically adds it to your plan list. As simple as that. So when you've added that, you can see that now I have gotten to the one that we added now last, or just added, that has also been added to the list here. Within my release plans, you also have something like a plus, and this is for the notes. So as you remember, I told you that you can collaborate through notes. You have the possibility of adding notes. Add, it saves, it shows who who has created it and when. You close it. And the way you can share with your colleagues or friends is that you click on this little icon here. And within those little icons, you can either share a link or you can manage it. The manage will remove access from the people you have shared it with. And the share link will make it possible for people to get access to your release plans that you have shared with them. But this is a really cool way of collaborating on the things and making sure that that you can actually work with it as a team. I also mentioned the filtering option. It is here within the filtering icon. You can see that you can filter by status, enable for availability, so on and so forth. Choose the things that make sense to you. Choose out the things that doesn't, and it will filter nicely. You have also the timeline option. So when you toggle it, it will either filter by scope or functionality, or it will filter by time. So you have, right now I clicked on it. It filters by date. You can see February, January, December. Click on it again, and it filters by functionality. Top here, search functionality. Search as you will. It will give the options back to you. What's new, feedback, and in the end here are all links to Microsoft Docs functionality and documentation that you can read more about. So a really quick overview of how things are working and how things work here. You also have a video here to watch the highlights, but I recommend absolutely everyone to go through it. It is out of preview now. It is in general availability, and a tool for everyone that works with release notes. Totally something I cannot live without anymore. So thank you very much. That was a quick overview from me, and giving it on to the next presentation.
Awesome, Vivian. Thank you. So everybody, why is this valuable and important? Because we all struggle to keep up with technology, right? There is so much, it's moving so fast. It's like Ferris Bueller, right? If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it. This helps us stop and look around. It also is a perfect opportunity for you to work with customers to plan around the releases as they're coming out. So it's like a crystal ball. So use it to keep up, use it to plan, use it to work with your clients and customers. It's absolutely powerful. Thank you, Vivian. That rocks. By the way, I have 3 older sisters and no brothers. I too crochet. So we'll have to compare some notes sometime. Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Last but not least, Yannick is going to show us how to use when an action is performed trigger in Power Automate. Yannick, you got our attention.
Awesome. Thank you. So this is me. I'm Yannick Reekmans, work for Qubix, business applications and M365 development MVP. I occasionally blog, I tweet a lot, and I present in community conferences a lot more. So that's where you find me. Now, this when an action is performed trigger in Power Automate for Dataverse is something I recently discovered. And I think many people don't really know the value of this thing. And it, once you understand it, you don't really get why it gets less love than the other triggers. So let's walk through it. First of all, so there are some business requirements because we'll walk through this in a scenario-based thing. So our requirement is that when a project is created or modified in Dataverse and the cost for that project is more than 10,000 euros, then we'd like an email to be sent to the CEO, and we'll add the CEO as a project member on that project. Now, if you build this in a typical solution, this is what you'd get. You do a when a row is added, modified, or deleted trigger on Dataverse on your projects table. You'll check the condition and you find the cost field, and you'll do if the cost is bigger, greater than or equal to 10,000 euros. And if the answer is yes, you'll send an email and you'll do the add a member to the project action. So there's that. Now, what if your business requirements get an update? We also want, if this is an expensive project, we really like to schedule weekly status meetings with people. So you go back to that original flow and you add the create an event action. Now, all in all, this is okay if there's only 3 actions necessary to fulfill each of your business requirements. But when things get more complicated, complex, or it's you that are doing this one thing, this one condition, and a team member in a different project needs to plug in or hook in to your action as well, then this can become super messy. An additional solution to this could possibly be to call a child workflow. But calling a child workflow always means you'll need to update or edit the main workflow, this one, to call additional actions. So what if we could do it or turn this around? What if we could build an event-driven solution where as soon as this condition is met, we throw an event. We publish that this has happened. Essentially, we perform an action to show that an expensive project is created, so that every other workflow or every other thing that needs to hook into this event just can be a different Power Automate flow that's registered on when an action is performed on your project on the action expensive project created. So you get a separate workflow, Power Automate flow to send an email, a separate one to add a project member to the project, as well as potentially schedule the event. This gives you the major advantage of building an event-driven solution in Power Platform, because you can also trigger the action from code, from your plugin pipelines, so that you can have a loosely coupled architecture. And everyone, both yourself, team members, but potentially even other people that are working on the same environment, can plug in, hook in to your application and plug in their own business logic to it. Now, let me show you how that works. First of all, what you need is you open the plugin registration tool. And usually this is used by developers. So don't be scared. It's also valuable for makers, low code. And the first thing you do when you connect to your organization, when you logged in, you'll see all of the plugin assemblies that are available in your organization. We'll quickly switch out and do the display by message. It's not necessarily better, but at least you see all the custom APIs that are available, because this whole thing is based upon custom APIs that you create. You see, I have a custom API set up for cheap project created. And there's also one, let me scroll, for expensive project created. It's a plugin. It's a custom API. And I know plugin registration tool, PRT, is for developers, mainly developer focused, but it's super easy to create your custom API. And I know the documentation says that you have to add a plugin to it, a plugin assembly, so that when you call your custom API, it will execute some pro code that is stored in a plugin. Now I'm cheating here a little bit because I don't want or need plugin or custom code to be executed. I just want to throw the event. And apparently, it's not required to associate in this plugin on a custom API. So the only thing I create is an event. You give it a name, you give it an internal name, you give it a unique name, you give it a description. You see how creative I am when I prep demos. The important part here is I will register a new one. You do register and you do new custom API. So you give it a name. It will fill this up. You put it in a solution. Let's put it in my event-driven app. You give it a description. You skip assembly and plugin. This one is important. Allow custom processing step type. Because we want to hook into it, you will need at least to say that async custom processing is allowed. Because if you do none, they will not show up in Power Automate in the trigger, and you cannot hook into it. If you do sync and async, you can also attach synchronous plugins to your custom API. So we'll make it async only. Binding type global is for bound or unbound actions. Global means it's unbound. It's not bound to an entity. Now, if you bind it to an entity, in our case, project, let me find my project, because this is the entity. This is it. You can put in request parameters. So you say, what's an input? So once you call this custom API, that you provide some input values, and you can define a response. Essentially, for an event-driven architecture, we don't really need the request and response, so I'm just registering like this. Now, if it does it, come on. Now it's hanging. And potentially crashing. So I'll just switch to Power Automate. Now, essentially, what I did in my first flow is when a row is added, modified, or deleted, and the cost is higher than 10K, I'm calling this perform a bound action. So I do the action, perform a bound action. I select the table, and you will find the list of actions that are available on this table. The thing that I do is I associate calling this action, because it's bound to an entity, to a record, to the row ID from when the row is added. So that's my dynamic value. When this action is called, there is this other flow with the trigger when an action is performed. You select your catalog. I do all, but there are some default catalogs. For your custom web API, you can also create your own catalog and category. If you do it the way that I did in the plugin registration tool, everything will be under all. So you leave it to all, category as well to all, and table name being project, because that's where your action lives. Now, here you select the action that exists, expensive project created. You notice this is the trigger is doing it with your display name. Performing a bound action is happening with your internal name in the list. You all know consistency is hard. Now, when an action is performed, this flow will trigger. So when this expensive project created action is triggered by our other flow, this flow will start as well. Same goes for my other flow on sending a mail on an expensive project created. I can do it like this. So this way, you can split up all the logic and everything in separate components. You can hook into it the way you want. And if you fill your application with many hooks like this, you can plug in custom business logic, or you allow people to plug in custom business logic to your application. This is potentially interesting for ISVs that create applications on Power Platform that sell them, that distribute them as a managed solution. So you cannot edit them because they come from the ISV and they're managed. But as an ISV, you can provide ways for your customers to hook into your their business logic. If you look at the run history for such when an action is performed, you see that the output, when this is triggered, you get the ID that we provided for the project that we filled in. You get all the logical name of the entity on which it's, or the table on which it's triggered. And if you would define input and output parameters, you would also get them on this message, which you then for sure can use in any later actions. So even though this flow has no direct link to any of my child flows, it will still trigger multiple workflows, multiple Power Automate flows. The fun part is that by default, there are already many available actions in Power Platform that you can also use. So if you need to plug in on something that happens on, hook in on something that happens on account, let's hope it will actually do this. You can have the messages, the actions that are available on default tables as well, like merge. So you can plug in your business logic on that as well. If you will see that when you add your custom API to your solution, it will create the entries. See, this is the one we just recently created. It will create the resource in your solution. So the custom API is also solution aware and will be deployed from a solution to different environments. So it supports ALM, the proper ALM practices to move from dev test to production. Cool. So this was a very, very short intro in event-driven architecture and the custom, like when an action is performed trigger on Dataverse. It's much more powerful than I first imagined it would be. So this is a totally different approach, and it will for sure change the way that I will design my applications in the future. So I hope I gave you some insights and some new ideas to work with your applications. And I do think that Microsoft should be a bit more clear on what the value is for this trigger. So this was it from my side. I will try to get my session selected on event-driven architecture in multiple conferences in the future, so you can have a more deep dive on this and not just a rush over thingy now. Thank you very much. David, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Yannick. This is really useful and very powerful. Thank you for sharing. Let me bring back up the slides here and we will wrap up. Well, first of all, everybody, a huge, huge round of applause and cheer for all of our presenters today. Carlos, Vivian, Yannick, thank you for doing all that you're doing and sharing this with the community. Really great stuff. There is a lot of chatter in the chat, and that's awesome. And so you may all be thinking, well, how can I get more involved and collaborate with these presenters? Let's talk about that. We got some resources. So the first is our newer community call conversations. Doesn't have to end here. We know when the call ends, we're not all going to be polluting the chat because there's a lot of people on it, but you may have questions and you may want to converse and talk with Yannick or Carlos or Vivian, and you should, because we all want to work together, and that's how we're going to learn. 2 heads are better than 1, 3 are better than 2. Let's work together. We're a global international community family, so let's make that happen, and community call conversations is that way. So with you, with what you see on the screen, there are some QR codes, there are some URLs, and I will also put them in the chat for all those that might be watching on demand later. This is going to lead you directly to the Power Users Power Apps site, dedicated threads to chat with these amazing presenters today. If you don't have an account, it is free to create one. Don't hesitate. It is absolutely no cost, and it's going to give you the opportunity to collaborate with Carlos, Vivian, or Yannick. Ask some questions. I know there was lots there in the chat. So we absolutely want to empower everyone to continue the conversation. Don't let this be the only time that we're collaborating. This is our monthly watering hole where we all get to enjoy spending time together, but don't let it end here. We absolutely want to continue to work together, chat, converse, and come up with great, amazing ideas to support one another. All right, so check that out. And what are some other helpful resources? Well, we've got the community front door that you can check out. Definitely see that. We've got links. I'll put them in the chat as well. We've got Power Platform videos, samples. We've got a variety of communities for Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Pages, Power Virtual Agents. All these links will take you to those fantastic locations so that you can continue to get more involved in the community and learn more together. Now, you may be like, I want to get a few more. I want to get a few more calls. I want to join all the calls. Well, we've got plenty of calls. So Power Platform, Microsoft 365 community calls. We've got a weekly Microsoft 365 and Power Platform call. Now, this is specifically for Microsoft speakers. So if you're looking to get the information directly from the mothership, that is a great way to get involved. Definitely check out that and get that added to your calendar. We've also got the Microsoft Identity Platform, Office add-ins, the monthly Power Platform call, which you are on right now. And then we've got our sibling Microsoft 365 and Power Platform development, as well as View Connection SharePoint Framework. These are bi-weekly calls. They're sort of siblings to one another. They happen on Thursdays. So tomorrow is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform development bi-weekly call. Check that out. You can get the invites to all of these at aka.ms/community/calls. And they're all worth your time, folks. We are always trying to keep up. I always call these the crystal ball into the what's now, what's new, and what's next. So definitely check it out, and you're able to collaborate there as well. The recording of this will be available in the Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel. Within 24 hours, you will not be able to download it directly from the chat. Please don't try unless you're in Microsoft. You're just going to end up with sadness. But we promise if you go to aka.ms/community/videos, you subscribe to the YouTube accounts, Power Platform, and the Microsoft 365 community, you will get alerts as soon as everything is available. So definitely do that. It's actually a faster way. Follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev or at M365PNP. Our next call win is March 15th, 1 month from today. Exactly at 8 a.m. Pacific time. You can get access to the invite for this if you don't already have it, aka.ms/Power Platform community call. And again, you can check out all the other calls at aka.ms/Power Platform/community-calls. Thank you, everyone, for being the best part of our community. Thank you to our presenters. Have a wonderful rest of your week.